Hey, blessings and welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Luke chapter 16 to 17 and John chapter 11. And there's this really cool thread that's going to run throughout this. It's be a good steward of what God's given you on this earth and steward it well. And then you'll be in a position to steward things in heaven. Jesus says if you don't steward the things of this earth, how can you steward or take care of things in heaven? How can you be given any kind of responsibility in heaven if you can't be trusted with the responsibility you're given on earth? And there's a couple of stories that talk about this. Jesus in chapter 16 tells us the parable about the unfaithful servant who has squandered his master's accounts, and when he finds out his master is realizing he's going to get rid of him, then it's like he sells shares of, or if you give me back half, I'll let you keep half. But then he's able to collect at least a bundle of money to give back to his master. And his master's pleased with him when it's over. But Jesus says if you're not faithful with the things on the earth, how can you be trusted to be faithful with the things of heaven? Then Jesus tells another parable about a poor homeless man named Lazarus and the rich man who lives on the other side of the gate. They're separated by a gate. The rich man is always happy and he's got lots of wealth, but suddenly he dies. Well, Lazarus, who sits outside his gate, also dies. So the rich man apparently never, and I say apparently, we don't read this, but it's almost implied that he never shared anything with Lazarus. He was a poor, starving to death old guy who sat outside his gates and finally died. Well, Lazarus goes to heaven, and this rich man went to hell, went to Hades, and Jesus is teaching this story to the Pharisees, Sadducees, and this man says, Lord, or Father Abraham, who's taking care of Lazarus, Father Abraham, send somebody to tell my brothers. And Abraham tells him, but he said to him, this is 16:31, if they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be persuaded, even if someone rises from the dead. Now, Jesus knows this is going to be him. He's going to rise from the dead. But he knows this crowd that he's speaking to with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, even if he comes back, is resurrected and comes back to them, they're still not going to believe in him because they hate him. And they hate him so bad they're going to want to kill him. And that's what we talked about yesterday. But it comes up again today at the end of this read. So Jesus is telling them this. Man, they obviously this just riles them up even more and more and more. And then Jesus builds off this parable to tell his disciples how important it is to live righteous during their time on earth and not be a stumbling block. Now, live righteous in this world includes being a good steward with the things that you're given, and that goes right along with everything he's taught so far. But he also talks about don't be like the Pharisees. Do not be a stumbling block to those around you, and that is being a poor steward of the things that God has given you. Even people in your life, you can be a poor steward in how you treat them, be a stumbling block to their faith, and so on. Then we go to John chapter 11. And Jesus is told about a different Lazarus, and this is the brother of Mary and Martha. There's three siblings that live together. Jesus loved them, and they loved Jesus. And there's some history there that I don't think we get in the Bible, but there is a rich, loving relationship between Jesus and this family. And so Martha and Mary go to Jesus and says, man, our brother, the one that you love, is very sick. Please come. Well, Jesus doesn't go immediately. He waits 2 days. Lazarus dies. Jesus then travels to their home, and Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Well, Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. And it's interesting because in the parable before, Lazarus was there, and Jesus said, or Abraham said, even if someone is raised from the dead, it's just interesting that Lazarus is the same name used both places, and this Lazarus is raised from the dead. And he comes back and he glorifies God. But the Pharisees and Sadducees won't listen to him. As a matter of fact, because Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, the Pharisees call this meeting, I assume it's the whole Sanhedrin that meets together, but they start plotting to kill Jesus. I think they knew exactly who he was. I think they knew he was the promised Messiah. They speak of knowing the evidence of him being the Son of God and the things that he had done, the miracles he had performed. But they didn't care because they make a statement that they're going to lose their authority. If the Romans hear of this and they move in, the Pharisees will lose their authority and their place and their position. And they don't want to lose that. They would rather kill the Messiah than give up their earthly possessions. That is being a poor steward of the things that you're given, the authority that you have. And that's the thread that has run through this. Anyway, great read today. And if you missed it, go back and read, get caught up. Tomorrow we're going to be in Luke chapter 17 and 18, Matthew 19, and Mark 10. In the meantime, you guys be safe.